Well, another week of the 2014 NFL season is in the books, so let's take a look now at the happenings and the occurrences that all took place during week 6 of this 2014 NFL season. I'm going to start off with some of the top storylines. One of the predominant storylines and one of the predominant featured matchups heading into week number 6 involved the Dallas Cowboys, with the Cowboys starting off at 4-1. Was this team legit? Was this team for real? Were they taking advantage of a soft early schedule? Now we were going to find out who they really were and were they really ranked or mattered in the NFC when they went into Seattle, a supposedly impossible place to win a game or damn near close to it. We were going to find out. Well, we found out that the Cowboys, at least in week number 6, proved their worth, showed they were legit, showed that they're a force to be reckoned with in not only the NFC East, but perhaps the NFC as a whole, by going into Seattle and beating the defending Super Bowl Seattle champion Seattle Seahawks in impressive victory. Defense played well enough to win, and the offense imposed its will, controlled the clock, kept Seattle's offense off the field, kept Seattle's defense on the field. Most importantly of all, kept Dallas's defense off of the field. The Cowboys, 5-1, winners of 5 in a row. They look like real deal players right now in the NFC. I got to go to Aaron Rodgers going full Marino in Miami. How about that? All those years later, after Dan Marino had that fake spike on the New York Jets, now here's Aaron Rodgers going into Miami and late in the game, pulling off a Marino. He went full Marino and led the Packers to a come-from-behind last-second victory over the Miami Dolphins in Miami. That was a big story to me. Aaron Rodgers showing again why he is the class of the National Football League when it comes to NFL quarterbacks. To me, beyond question, he showed it there. And a guy that is starting to maybe make his own case for conversation and consideration when it comes to the NFL's most valuable player. And then a freaking tie. Now, it's not bad enough that there's always a player. In this case, it was Panthers rookie Kelvin Benjamin, who apparently has never watched the NFL, doesn't realize that there's been a tie each of the past 2 seasons, not knowing that a game that goes to the end of overtime without somebody being ahead ends in a tie. There was a freaking tie in the NFL. And this one you could actually credit to the lack of a sudden death rule. One team kicks a field goal, then another team comes back and kicks a field goal, and then you got to play the rest of the way. There's got to be a better way to do overtime in the National Football League. Nothing worse than these teams beating the hell out of each other for 75 minutes of game action, only to end up in a freaking tie. Just bad. Nothing more unsatisfying, unfulfilling, and disappointing than that as far as I'm concerned. It's even worse than a loss because you feel like you should have won, but you ultimately didn't. You feel like you lost even though you didn't. Now let's go to some of the winners and losers from week number 6. I got to go with the winners. You got to start off with the Dallas Cowboys. Even if you hate the Dallas Cowboys, even if you don't like the Dallas Cowboys, they deserve props and respect for going into Seattle and beating the defending Super Bowl champions and damn near kind of doing it in a Seahawks way. I mean, that was impressive. The Cowboys, 5-1, tied for first in the NFC East along with the Philadelphia Eagles. All the questions about them being legit. Well, they hushed them up at least for 1 week. Got to look at the Cleveland Browns. They steamrolled the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. Now the Browns are sitting at 3-2. The Cleveland Browns, after 5 weeks, have a winning record. They've been in every game. Their offense has been surprisingly good, and their defense at week number 5 clearly showed up finally against the Steelers. And then I got to go to the New England Patriots, too. An impressive divisional road win against Buffalo puts them in sole possession of first in the AFC East, although it seems like it could be a very costly win for them, as it looks like both Stephen Ridley and Gerard Mayo could miss the season with leg and knee injuries. Again, this is a Patriots team that a couple weeks ago the narrative was they were done, they were dead, and now they've won 2 in a row in impressive fashion. And they're sitting all alone in first place at 4-2 in the AFC East. Who'd have thunk it, huh? Now let's go to the losers. You got to go to the Bucs, man. They got steamrolled again. Again. Now, this is just bad. This is the second time in 3 games that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just got absolutely destroyed by somebody. It's like they didn't even care. They didn't even show up. And worst of all, it's the defense that didn't show up. A Lovie Smith coach team where the defense is a non-factor. I look at another team in that division, the Atlanta Falcons. This is supposed to be a high-powered, explosive offense with a franchise quarterback and Matt Ryan and weapons all over and Julio Jones and Roddy White. And they got punked by the Bears on Sunday. That's just the way it is. They got punked. They got beat. They got out physical. They got scared. Now the Falcons are sitting there at 2-4, and I start to wonder, when is the head coach of the Falcons, Mike Smith, a defensive-minded guy, going to get more criticism and start to be called to task, and perhaps finding himself on the hot seat for the fact that this looks like it could be yet another disappointing losing season for the Atlanta Falcons. And they got to go to the New York Giants. You sit there and start off 0-2, you look like shit. Then you win 3 in a row, and everybody starts kissing your ass. Then you go on Sunday Night Football into Philadelphia, and you get steamrolled 27-0. If that doesn't scream a typical fucking Tom Coughlin coach Giants team, I don't know what the hell does. Outstandingly ridiculous is the best way I could put it. This is a big divisional tilt. You have a chance to really make things interesting, really make an early season statement. Oh, you made an early season statement if you're the New York Giants. You made a statement that maybe that 3-game winning streak was a bit of a fluke because they look like shit. Absolute shit. And then you lose your best wide receiver, Victor Cruz, for the season to a torn patellar tendon, Sin Cara style. That makes you even bigger losers than you already were for that pathetic, piss-poor performance in Week 6 on the road against the Eagles. Now let's talk about some of the stars from Week number 6. Obviously, J.J. Watt. In a losing effort, he was a force. He was a beast. And he's got a lot of people, even more people now, buzzing about the fact that he could potentially be the NFL's most valuable player. And at this point in time, he is definitely in the conversation. I mean, he was dominant on Thursday night against the Colts. J.J. Watt showed you, to me, why he is clearly the preeminent defensive force in all of the National Football League and clearly the preeminent defensive player in all of the National Football League. And frankly, I don't even think it's close. You got to look at Joe Flacco of the Ravens. The Ravens are sitting there, what now, at 4-2, throws 5 touchdown passes in the first half. Joe Flacco, 5 touchdown passes in the first half. Just picture that for a second. Other stars, I got to look at DeMarco Murray. This is a guy, again, just like J.J. Watt. It's got to be in that conversation for NFL MVP at this point in time. He goes into Seattle facing the league's best rushing defense, or one of them, and manages to hang 100 yards on him and scores the game-winning touchdown. It's DeMarco Murray that is the key, along with that young, talented offensive line for the Cowboys. That is the key to their success right now. Takes the pressure off of Romo, opens other things up in the passing game, keeps their own defense off the field, keeps other opposing defenses on the field. DeMarco Murray had the type of MVP-type performance that you would expect out of an MVP type of candidate in a big type of game like this road victory for the Cowboys in Week 6. And I got to go with my Bears and Matt Forte. 2 touchdowns, over 150 yards, all purpose. Matt Forte is springing to life. The Bears salvaged their season. Jay Cutler had a solid game, no real big mistakes. Threw the ball down the field effectively, got it into the hands of his playmakers when he needed to. And the Bears saved their season, at least temporarily, even though they are exactly who I thought they were at 3-3. But Forte, he was a big star and a big difference maker for the Bears this week. There's no doubt about it. So let me know what you think the top storylines, the winners and losers, and your big stars were from week number 6 of this NFL season.